Przyszedł i powiedział: stary, czy masz czas? Potrzebuję do załogi jakąś nową twarz. Amazonka, wielka rafa, oceany 3, rejs na całość, rok, 2 lata. To powiedziałbym: gdzie ta geja przy niej ten wiatr? Gdzie ta goja wymarzona w snach? Gdzie te wszystkie sznurki od tych szmat? Gdzie ta brama na szeroki świat? Gdzie ta geja przy niej ten wiatr? Gdzie ta goja wymarzona w snach? W każdej chwili płynę taki rejs, tylko gdzie to jest? Gdzie to jest? Przeszły lata zapyziałe, rzęsą zarósł staw, a na przystani czółno stało kolorowy paw. Zaokrągliły się marzenia, wyjałowiał step, ale dalej marzy o załodze ten samotny łeb. Gdzie ta geja przy niej ten wiatr? Gdzie ta goja wymarzona w snach? Gdzie te wszystkie sznurki od tych szmat? Gdzie ta brama na szeroki świat? Gdzie ta geja przy niej ten wiatr? Gdzie ta goja wymarzona w snach? W każdej chwili płynę taki rejs, tylko gdzie to jest? Gdzie to jest? Tylko gdzie to jest? Gdzie to jest? Tylko gdzie to jest?
30 knots of wind again. White caps everywhere. Yesterday wind dropped from 30 to 20 knots, and today is sunshine. I still have reef in Maine just because it is easier on autopilot, but today is absolutely perfect. In 15 knots of wind we are doing 6 knots in comfort, and I am enjoying spectacular view from my office. For the whole leg I try to stay on a great circle, but right now Darwin is 4,200 miles behind the stern of Mighty Chicken. Sunrise today is not better than yesterday sunset. Overnight clouds cover the sky and wind start to shift again. We will have to jibe more than on the last 4,000 miles. Although I cannot see the land, I am positive it is in this cloud, but in this wind there is no chance I can make it by tonight. Wind came back very nicely, but too late. I have aerial photos of the harbor, so at the breakwater I will see if harbor is well lit. I can try tonight, if not tomorrow morning. St. Pierre harbor was closed because of dangerous conditions. Mighty Chicken was diverted to Le Port. The incident made even local news.
On a frôlé le pire hier soir au port de Saint-Pierre alors que des creux de plus de 6 mètres secouaient l'entrée du port. Un skipper polonais en route pour un tour du monde a failli s'engager dans une voie des plus dangereuses. Il doit son salut à la SNSM qui l'a guidé. Fatigué, l'homme, un passionné des mers, se ressource aujourd'hui à la pointe des Galets et se rend compte qu'il a eu beaucoup de chance. Récit de Céline Germag avec Marion Bois.
Un peu de repos après une nuit agitée. Andy a eu de la chance. Hier soir, il est passé à côté de vagues de plus de 6 mètres de haut. À 22 h, du poste de surveillance de la SNSM de Saint-Pierre, des bénévoles aperçoivent le voilier qui se dirige vers la marina. Polonais, vivant au Canada depuis 26 ans, Andy n'en est pourtant pas à son premier voyage en mer. Parti de Vancouver le 15 avril dernier, il avait fait escale à Darwin avant de reprendre le large en direction de la Réunion. 32 jours de navigation plus tard, il ne s'attendait pas à une telle arrivée.
I didn't really experience these waves
Alors j'ai réussi à éviter ces vagues uniquement parce qu'ils m'ont prévenu depuis le port. Sinon je ne sais pas comment ça se serait terminé. Quand j'y pense, j'aurais peut-être eu de la chance et fini par boire tranquillement une bière au port une fois les vagues passées. Ou alors les conséquences auraient tout simplement pu être désastreuses.
leaving Reunion Island in 5 to 6 knots of wind. Last look on St. Pierre. The next stop is Durban. First part of the leg, according to textbook, until Madagascar should be smooth. From Madagascar to Durban, it can be roughest and toughest part of all voyage. Light wind didn't last too long. The island is still in my sight, but I had in rush to put 2 reefs in main and hoist heavy jib. Have already 25, casting 30, at least on the top of the mast. But it's only a matter of time when at the water level we will have 25-30 knots as well. Wind stabilized at 20 knots, and this is very fast sailing. Seas are not too bumpy. I am doing 7 knots over the water, and from time to time I am still getting extra push from swell. So far so good. Express sailing was for only 1 day, and it was followed by 2 days of very light winds. Yesterday I made only 50 miles. On the opposite tack I still could not clear Madagascar. I was inside when suddenly I heard very loud snort, and I knew right away that the whale is very close to the boat. I grabbed camera and jumped to the cockpit, and indeed there was not 1 but 3 whales going along with the boat. Madagascar is 180 miles from the beam of Mighty Chicken. Waters between Madagascar, Durban and Cape Town are one of the worst on the world. In 3 hours the barometer dropped 3.5 millibars and 5 millibars from noon to late evening. 100 miles to Africa, 160 to Durban, 25 knots of wind. That's 30 knots of wind. Alarm. "25 turn to 30. Now 30 is turning to 35. I drop the main, and I am positive that on the screen it will still look like a picnic. I hope at least you can hear a whistling. It's 35 solid now. Hopefully it will ease by tomorrow. Otherwise it would be terrible job to approach the breakwater in a blow like that.
Michael was the winner.
Michael's the winner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Leaving Durban, last look on soccer stadium for 2010 World Cup. Goodbye Durban. Didn't took too long. We have some company. Obviously somebody in Richards Bay had similar idea like me. Well, we have to tug and tug. He's on opposite tack. Wind is from south and we want to go south. But 10 knots, it doesn't get better if you have to beat. By late evening, a little better wind came back. And more importantly, I found the current, or rather vice versa, different sound of boat woke me up, and I noticed that overground on GPS I am doing 3 knots more than over the water. But the last thing what I wanted to see today morning was a red sky. On the second day, forecast fell apart. I got 25 knots of wind on the nose, and against the current to East London I arrived with breaking seas. For these repeaters, I guess I could buy another almighty chicken. The owner of this boat, German Freres design Swan 100, sent entire crew of 6 of Italians to sail around the world so he can sail from time to time in attractive places. And this is indeed fantastica. The owner of this sailing yacht is even luckier camper than Italian billionaire. He can sail around the world without the crew. This is last South African leg. Goodbye Muscle Bay. The next stop is Cape Town. Only BC can compete with the beauty of South African coast. It was nice and easy today. Hopefully tomorrow we will have sailor's delight. It wasn't exactly sailor's delight because it was a little bumpy, but at least it was very fast. And from time to time I already can see flash of lights at Argos Cape, which means that after we jibe on opposite tack, we will make Atlantic Ocean. Here it is, Cape Argos, south tip of Africa, 25 knots of wind. From East London I was sailing mostly in light winds, but last 100 miles before Simonstown we got another mini blast, 25 gusting 30. Last night lovely Simonstown wasn't such peaceful as it is today. When I was approaching here, wind picked up to 45 and it was gusting over 50, but Mighty Chicken did okay. During the week everybody are busy preparing boats, but it is tradition at Falls Bay Yacht Club to gather together on Friday evening for a barbecue. Ian was my interpreter when I was in trouble in St. Pierre. There is very peaceful at this moment, but there is a good reason for this red flag flying at the entrance to the dock in Simonstown Marina. The whole week long there is excellent offshore wind over there, around 25 knots, but I cannot leave Simonstown and beat to the weather for only 15 miles to reach Cape Point because of this cloud over there. Moist air from Falls Bay is rising on the mountain, condensating and creating vacuum which accelerate air even to 55 knots. Hopefully it will change by Saturday and Mighty Chicken will sail away for Santa Helena. So John, what do you think? Is it the right time for me to go on this Saturday?
Hello Andy, yeah, I think we're looking at good weather for the weekend, and I'm sure if the weather report holds, it's going to be a stunning weekend, and to get you a kickstart out of False Bay, it should be pretty good. And I just hope you have fair winds, and once you're around the corner, you're on the homeward leg, and it's been great having you here and meeting you, and I'm sure we're going to cross paths again.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your help. So you think that this cloud over there will disappear by Saturday?
I think that cloud over there, whenever there's a southeaster blowing, it collects on the mountain, but as soon as that goes away, I think you can be on your way.
Well, tomorrow I am leaving. Things look good so far. We are looking for Sailor's Delight. And good meal tonight. I move out, somebody immediately will take my spot. Excellent! Clouds are gone. I have 18 knots of wind. Roman Rock behind, and I have only 12 miles to Cape of Good Hope. East side of Cape Point. One more tack and I will round it. Cape Point. I could not ask for better weather. Water is breaking over there on Anvil Rock. Wind drop to below 10 knots, and it's very slow because I am still under the jeep. But at this moment I don't care about boat speed. I'm just rounding Cape Point. Well, seals probably think that I am fishing boat and they are chasing me. There is all crowd of them. Table Mountain and Cape Town. Wind is still soft, but it shifts from southeast to southwest. So now I am heading in a very right direction. I still can see the Cape Point. Hopefully this is not last view of the Cape in my life. Goodbye, Africa. Because of the piracy on the Red Sea, more and more shipping companies sending their freighters around Africa. It should be fun during night. Whoops, I missed this one. Traffic and light winds kept me awake for the most of the night, but it wasn't as bad as I expected. Like from Vancouver to Hawaii, proper way is sail first along Oregon coast. Sailing from Cape Town to Santa Helena, proper way is sail first along African coast. A few years ago, a friend of mine met fellows who circumnavigate in 15 knots of trade and maximum 25 knots of wind. Is really weather change as much, or I am just blessed with windy conditions? Because trades blow for me 20 to 25 knots like right now, and on every single leg I experience at least 30, usually 35 knots of wind in gusts. Trade winds blow like that 7 days a week for thousands of years. So there is no energy crisis as such, and we know how to harness that energy. We just don't know how to storage it. I guess sailing converted engineer to philosopher. The advantage of short leg is that I can have much nicer shower. There is always something to repair. Yes, get busy and wash this salt off. Yes, I know. Michelle would say, get busy. Voila! 5 minutes later, and another emergency repair at the sea is completed. A duct tape, every handy sailor best friend. Do not leave harbor without it. And for the job well done, the captain awarded handy sailor with second of the day can of fruit cocktail. Happy with progress, I started to hope, and I had slight chance to make Santa Helena on Christmas Day. With Christmas on Santa Helena, I was obviously dreaming for a moment. As wind is getting lighter and lighter, I have to jibe and sail hotter angles. It means that remaining 810 miles which I have to island in reality means at least 950, very likely 1,000 miles to sail. Crossing Meridian Zero. Welcome to the west. Unfortunately, wind is not too excited about that, and third day in a row I am struggling big time. 390 miles to James Bay on Santa Helena. Knots of wind and flat seas. Doesn't get much better. I am doing 7.5, 8 knots in smooth ride. Merry Christmas! Santa was visiting me in Durban, so I didn't count on him. However, dear Santa, it would be very nice Christmas present for me if I could have this wind which is dying for another day. Santa! I was asking for wind to stay, not for more wind. I had to reef main. He's getting really old. As wind regularly start to puffs over 20, I douse the spinnaker and pull out the Jenny. It looks ugly, but does beautiful job in balancing the mainsail. Book says that Santa Helena can be seen from 50 miles. I am closer and I cannot see anything. For fairness, however, today visibility is far from perfect. The menu for Christmas dinner is very elaborated, and of course for dessert, fruit cocktail. I doubt very much if this island can ever be seen from 50 miles. Also difficult to set an anchor. The anchorage in James Bay on Santa Helena is good. The charm of the harbor is unfortunately a little spoiled by number of bunkers left from the Second World War. The stopover on Santa Helena was very short, but very pleasant and efficient. Just in a couple days I had everything ready for next long leg to Martinique. 3,750 miles to go. The menu for this leg includes Saudi Straits for around 2 weeks, New Year's Eve celebration, crossing of the equator, doldrums, and another 2 weeks of Northeast Straits. I should arrive to Martinique in 28, more likely 30 days because of doldrums. Anyways, it is 1 month trip. Last day of the year, and what a terrible way to end it. On a hoist I lost spinnaker highlight. Spinnaker is easy to retrieve, but to Martinique I have to make on a journey. It is not a major disaster, of course. It happened to me before, even on a longer leg from Panama to Honolulu 4 years ago. But on the other hand, it sucks. This is the very beginning of the leg, and I still have 3,300 miles to go. Under Jenny, I am at least 15, more like 20 miles a day slower, which means that to Martinique I will arrive around 1 week late. More importantly, Spinnaker Highland was a backup for the Jeep, so now I have to be extra careful because I don't have backup. Other than that, everything is just fine, but I guess at this moment I don't have too many reasons to party on the New Year Day Eve. Good morning and Happy New Year. I concluded that it is not worth for me to struggle in light winds with Jenny and at the same time worrying about highlands. I altered the course and I am heading for Ascension Island. Should be there in couple days. The only problem with my plan is that I did not intend to visit Ascension, so I don't have any chance. Ascension Island, Mary and Rod helped me to retrieve the highland. Thank you very much, guys.
Welcome and good luck for the rest of your trip.
Thank you, and all the best for you on the way to Salvador.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. I arrived today and glad to leave today. Nice to have all the strings back in order again and fly that thing. Yesterday I thought that today I will make the equator, but realistically it looked like equator is scheduled for tomorrow. Yesterday afternoon wind was getting really light, So I decided that I will not sail to the recommended longitude. I jibe, and the equator is only 2 miles straight ahead. 2, 1, 0, and what a difference! We are not only in Western, but also in Northern Hemisphere. As I was filming history of the crossing of the equator, that thing immediately took advantage of me. I believe it is third wrap-up, but this one is actually easy to recover. I am hoping that early jibe will bring me sooner northeast trades, which should compensate for extra 35 miles I am adding. But first, we have the main attraction of the lake. Doldrums are coming very soon. Whatever cumulonimbus it is unfriendly cumulonimbus. I wouldn't be surprised if afternoon we have rain. Or perhaps this cloud already sits in doldrums. As unfriendly cumulonimbus start to develop to very unfriendly cumulonimbus, I drop the spinnaker and unfurl Jenny. Cumulonimbus drop only few sprinkles, but it changed wind from southeast to northeast, and on a close reach now I am going the right direction. That's very unfriendly too, but in a fresh northeasterly wind we are sailing for a brighter future. Well, maybe not so bright. I don't know what's going on here, and I would be stupid to celebrate prematurely, but if doldrums means reasonably stable wind without vicious squalls, few clouds without thunderstorms, and a little rain to take the lax shower, I love doldrums. Doldrums are history. After teasing me dozens of times over the last 2 days, last night northeast trades arrived to stay with me for the rest of the leg all the way to the Martinique. $1,700 miles to go, around 18 knots of wind. Another 35 knots blaster, only from Cape Town to Santa Helena. I didn't have it. Yesterday I fell and bruised my ribs, so now everything is big deal. Good weather, good wind, and sometime I am creeping below 4 knots because I am afraid in the case of blow I could not take main on time. Yesterday it took me 2 hours of heavy labor to take it down. Hopefully it won't be like that for the rest of 1,500 miles to Martinique. Mighty Chicken is doing great job, but from time to time I have no choice but to help her, and every time I aggravate my ribs. Today, for the first time in 12 days, it is since my injury, I hoisted reefed main. After all, in St. Lucia Channel, very special moment is waiting for me. St. Lucia Channel between St. Lucia and Martinique. Mighty Chicken just crossed her track, which she left on those waters 4 years ago when I was sailing from Le Havre to Vancouver. In other words, sailing from east to west, we just closed the loop around the world. My dream did come true, and I am one of around 550 solo circumnavigators. Thank you, Misher, for letting me do that. Thank you, dear chicken, for your support. Thank you, Mighty Chicken, for 38,352 nautical miles of safe sailing. Le Marine was very good spot to check the boat before Pacific, but first I have to get to Panama. Diamond Head, legendary rock from era when Brits on St. Lucia were fighting French on Martinique. He came very close, but very nice guy. Warned me about bad weather, 40 knots of wind and 15-meter seas close to Panama. Because of the warning from the freighter and red sky in the morning, I dropped main to slow down. Gale force winds are only 260 miles away. Last couple of days, somebody was saturating time after time my radar detector. I wonder if these guys know something about that. Today evidently they are making circle around me. I guess I am suspect in a trafficking of something. After all, I am only 120, maybe 150 miles off Colombian coast. They are coming closer and closer. Buenos dias, amigos! I can't believe it. This is Canadian ship. I had excellent chat with guys from Canadian warship. According to them, I should get only 30 knots of wind and 3 to 4 meters of swell. Well, in such case, it's time to hoist the main back. For the second day, I have 40 knots of wind. Without 40 knots of wind, I wouldn't know that 30 knots looks very friendly. 30 knots feel like time for spinnaker. Still 30 knots of wind. But now seas are organized, so sailing is much nicer. I'm doing 6 to 7 knots. Wind and seas are falling down. Unfortunately, the barometer is falling down as well. I don't know what it means altogether. 40 knots is back. 2 days to Panama when the wind is off to 30 knots. It is very peaceful. At the very end of the blow, I got a ton of water inside through the companionway. One half of the sleeping bag that I was using as a mattress is completely soaked. My logbook is practically wrecked. Unfortunately, my postcard of Cape of Good Hope is damaged. The draft of the report from the lake is drying out nicely. At least the barometer is no longer falling down. Well, we made to Panama, 23 miles to the canal. One thing that I learned from this lake is that trade winds really can blow with gale force. Last night we went through first 3 locks, spent night tied to the buoy on Gatun Lake, and now we are waiting for the pilot. Here he comes. Yesterday we were going up, today we are going only down. Last gates are open and we are at the level of Pacific Ocean. Pilot is leaving us. We are almost done. Okay, thank you, bye bye. Actually I was lucky to transit reasonably fast. On Atlantic side, over 30 freighters was waiting. On Pacific side, situation is very similar, and each of them is willing to pay $80,000 to $100,000 for the passage. Cruising ships pay up to $300,000. Tough competition for Mighty Chicken. For us, next stop, Waikiki Yacht Club on Hawaii. We are underway and I even have some decent wind, but the departure was awful. I left the cockpit for a moment and it was enough to hit big mooring buoy for the freighters. It is not the major damage, but it is the biggest damage I ever did to my boat. I'm very upset about that and just hoping that this incident did not set my mood for the rest of the trip. I had decent wind only for a couple of hours and now the struggle has begun. This guy will pay more than $100,000 for the passage, because for containers on the deck there is additional fee. Third day of light winds, but we are moving. Probably last sight of Panama, 4,400 miles to Hawaii. On the opposite tack, I would sail much closer to my proper course to Hawaii, but soon I would also sail along Costa Rican coast, and to find trades I have to separate from the land. 5 knots of wind and boat speed below 3 knots. It looks that day number 4 will be very similar to day 1, 2 or 3. But at least we are moving in the right direction, which at this stage is due west. Let's watch sunrise. Anything interesting ahead of us? I guess not. I'm not sure if this is still single-handed sailing. Make yourself comfortable, pal, but at least behave yourself, not like your other friends. I was sitting in a cockpit when this fellow landed, and this one is even better. This guy touched me. I was sitting in companionway. He pushed me on the side so he can land on the winch. I chased him out from the winch, so he just moved to the solar panel. Just behave yourself, pal. That's all what I am asking all of you. Understand? Still light winds. My VMG over the last 5 days is only 2.5 knots. But we are not struggling alone. This is second time in 40,000 miles that I am meeting sailboat on high seas. With twilight, when I was still snoring, wind strengthened and changed direction to northeast. No question, I got trades. Now we are talking. 4,100 miles to next gear station. Seas got organized and wind strengthened. With 2 reefs in Maine, we are smoking again. Knots of wind doesn't sound like a lot, but with flat seas we are honking. Hopefully this unfriendly cumulonimbus will not slow me down. After a lousy start, I am sailing on a very fast pace. Although I missed 600 miles in 4 days by 16 miles. I have a very good foundation for 1,000 miles in 1 week. These relatively flat seas still give me strong push, and speed over the ground on GPS only rarely drops below 7 knots. I need another 2 days of this, and I will make over 1,000 miles in 7 days. 2 days, it is still a lot of time, but on the other hand, things were never as promising as today. I am chasing that record for 40,000 miles. Maybe it is time to get it. Because actually it looks like this time or never. I am getting very confident today at noon with 162 miles. I had the best day of the trip, and it doesn't feel at all that we are going such fast. It is gliding, not sailing. Absolutely fantastic. GPS also constantly so, yeah, over 8 knots. With such speed, tomorrow I need very average day to make over 1,000 miles in 7 days. That's great, because on the leg from Hawaii to Vancouver, most likely I will not have such ideal condition for fast sailing. This is second day like that. I had to slow for a night. I could break a daily record, but it is much easier than get 1,000 in 7 days. It was great week and absolutely stunning 4 days. I never before experienced for such extended period of time this kind of absolutely ideal condition for fast sailing. All previous Mighty Chicken records are smashed. We've made 82 miles in 10 hours, 172 miles in 1 day, 653 miles in 4 days, and 1,084 miles in 7 days. Now doing 5 knots, it feels like we are glued to the water. Still over 2,900 miles to go. Very soft winds for last couple days, 6 to 7 knots, but we are creeping in the right direction. Red skies in the morning. That's not good. It seems that on the way to Hawaii, rainbow means another little blow. Like on every previous leg, this time I also got 30-35 knots of wind, but at least seas are not too rough today. 800 miles to Honolulu. And also not too rough, but definitely the biggest seas since Indian Ocean. Mighty chicken reach, beautiful Hawaii, after only 37 nights and days. No kidding, but words to this song I wrote myself. Is it something? Few days after I reached Lepiarczyk on Reunion Island, Ali Kai too left for Durban. Since then, I am chasing him all the way to Honolulu. He arrived today before me. For 2 days from Hawaii, weather was bad, but progress was excellent. Now weather is improving, as it should in horse latitudes, but also it's getting colder and slower. On the other hand, doing 5 steady knots in horse latitude, it's not bad. But I am getting a little impatient. Only 1999 miles to Karmana Point. Sailing to Vancouver in the middle of April is a bit of a navigational challenge, because Pacific High is not established yet, and I have to make sure that the Mighty Chicken will sail for westerlies around the high. 35 degrees north, and I already got westerlies. Also to Karmana Point is still 1520 miles with speed of luck. This is my last tack for Juan de Fuca Strait. In 12 days I am in Victoria. For a couple of days I did enjoy boost from this little gale. Unfortunately, much bigger gale start to develop to my starboard, and I had no choice but heave to and drift back. This gale is moving northeast very fast. It is already 200 miles ahead, and actually right now it's crossing bow of Mighty Chicken. Therefore I am getting huge lift. Wind drop below 20 knots. From time to time I am a little underpowered, but for the night it will stay like that. Two days later, and another gale. This one is even more violent. 40 knots of wind, gusting to 50. I am losing time and distance under bare poles, but any sailing is impossible, especially that it's blowing against me. Sailing is good, but not in the best direction. This is frosty northerly wind. Northerly wind shifts to northeast. I tack, starboard tack is not great, but at least it takes me faster to westerlies. Solid 40 knots. How to sail against blow like that? This is not the most attractive view from my office. Doesn't want to ease off. Drifting perfectly backwards at speed of up to 3.5 knots. According to radio, I am on the latitude of gale, which is 200 miles away. Hopefully later today it will be over. Seas are definitely coming down. It's enough. Due to gale I lost 3 days and 120 miles. I know that I will be overdue in Vancouver. 1,320 miles to go. But at least through the clouds for the first time in a week I can see some sunlight, and barometer is also rising up. 20 knots of wind. Good sailing. 3 days at sea and I am 49 degrees north. Unfortunately, couple days ago, farther north, 55 north and 145 west, nearly stationary Pacific high has developed. I am on the wrong side of it, and therefore it fits me with winds on the nose. I am falling farther behind, but have no choice but to creep farther north and make it all windward passage. And to make bad worse, the barometer fell down 6 millibars in 6 hours. Obviously, new gale is developing somewhere. I don't know where, because the reception on the radio is poor. There is no end to it. This is May 1st, and as we were running away from the developing storm, we were struck by 35 knots gale, but actually I could sleep all night without using any autopilot, but just with lashed tiller and under storm jib alone. Mighty was sailing 4.5, 4 knots, taking us step by step south, farther from the probable track of the storm. We didn't gain anything, but we also didn't lose any distance from Juan de Fuca Strait. Bravo, Mighty! Four times before I was sailing from Hawaii to Vancouver this way. This time, however, I was knocked down over there. Then strong winds diverted me 300 miles farther north than usually. The storm was chasing me from here. All of this is history. After sailing for 700 miles against the wind, 7 gales, 4 strikes, 3 escapes, 1 knockdown. Finally, we got westerlies. 590 miles to go. 4 miles farther than I was 2 days ago. And to make things even more interesting, sailing from Hawaii to Juan de Fuca, we are approaching from northwest, sailing in westerlies on starboard tack. I enjoy westerlies only for a couple hours. By early evening I had 30 knots of wind again. But this one is not too bad. It is from southeast. On this tack I can make Port Hardy. Of westerlies doesn't count, and today I no longer need them. After sailing for 25 days, I still have 420 miles to Juan de Fuca Strait. However, I have only 200 and something to Cape Sport. And to be crystal clear, I am not sailing from Alaska. I am sailing to Vancouver from Honolulu. Yesterday wasn't fun. another game. So that's probably number 9. For one leg, too many. But sailing is not for intelligent people. One sunny day, light breeze, first time under full sail, probably 2 weeks, first gale, and life is good. It's not over until it's over, and there is really no end to it. Last night I had to sacrifice again some 50 miles to escape from the second storm which was chasing me. Or rather, we were on collision course. Today with 20-25 knots of wind from the stern and following seas, I am taking back some of these losses. However, from 2 days to go, we are back to 340 miles to go. Maybe this is Canadian patrol plane 103. Indeed, it was the same plane that I was lucky to establish contact with a few days ago, and who advised Michel that I am only overdue but otherwise okay. If I get any wind, this is last sunset. Tomorrow this time I will be in Victoria. Now after Carmana Point, I am officially on Juan de Fuca Strait. Goodbye Pacific Ocean. See you next time with fewer gales.
A little worse for wear, perhaps, but the smallish 30-foot mighty chicken is still very much seaworthy as it arrives back home to the West Vancouver Yacht Club after an epic journey around the world.
There he comes, looking like a hillbilly. Look at the boat.
His wife there to greet him today, but she was too emotional to be there when he left 13 months ago.
I didn't know my departure date to the very last moment, so therefore we decided that we will pretend that I am just going for day sailing here.
Right.
She went to work. A friend of mine dropped me to the boat, and I was underway.
He went around the world.
Yes, sir.
It is a long time, and I'm glad that he's back. But I'm just happy that he did it for him, that he completed his lifelong dream.
His solo journey took him across the Pacific to Darwin in northern Australia, across the Indian Ocean, and around some of the most treacherous waters off South Africa. But as he timed his journey around the Cape of Good Hope, he lucked out with the weather.
Oh, it's great. It depends what in your head, you know. It is not in muscles, but that was the dream. I never thought that I will have both.
How did you deal with the loneliness?
I didn't feel lonely at all.
Really?
No. I was busy all the time, and I used to do a lot of things on my own. I like to ski on my own, and no, I wasn't lonely for a moment. Maybe some minutes, but not hours or not days.
Even he was surprised to experience the toughest part of his journey was in the last 2 weeks in the North Pacific, where a series of storms forced the mighty chicken way off course. At one point, he was far closer to the Queen Charlotte's in Vancouver Island and running out of food.
I'm always taking for the times that I estimate plus 10 days. And to Victoria, I arrive 10 days overdue. So in Victoria, I was basically on zero. Wow. But I already knew that I'm close to shore, so I didn't ration or anything like that. Thank you.
Popłynęli koledzy w rejs. Fale ich kołyszą gdzieś. Dla nich dobry los lub zły, im się sen na jawie śni. Dla mnie zwykłe, szare dni. Gdzieś na Biskajach z nordu wieje, świat się kołysze, świat się chwieje. W cieśninie Drejka lodu kry mijają dni. Gdzieś tam na wachcie w noc bez końca zapragniesz północnego słońca. Zaszumi w głowie tęgi łyk, mijają dni. Popłynęli koledzy w rejs. Fale ich kołyszą gdzieś. Dla nich dobry los lub zły, im się sen na jawie śni. Dla mnie zwykłe, szare dni. Pozdrów kolego, wyspy moje, pozdrów też śpiące kitoboje, lodem wilgotne żółte mchy, przyrzeknij mi. Pozdrów też w porcie tą dziewczynę, gdy głowa winem ci popłynie. Przywieź nostalgii parę chwil, przyrzeknij mi. Popłynęli koledzy w rejs. Fale ich kołyszą gdzieś. Dla nich dobry los lub zły, im się sen na jawie śni. Dla mnie zwykłe, szare dni. Lecz coś mi dziwnie w duszy szepce, że stary pieczęć da w książeczce i z horyzontu zniknie ląd. Wypłynę stąd i nim mi posiwieją włosy, znów ujrzę z mostku albatrosy. Przeżyję dobry los lub zły, przyjdą te dni, a na razie popłynęli koledzy w rejs.